We're live.
Oh my goodness. Time to break the count.
All right, so your name is Henry, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
Yes, awesome. And what branch of the service were you in?
The Navy.
The Navy. Awesome, awesome. And what were your dates of service, if you recall?
June of 1951 to June of 1955.
Cool, cool. And were you drafted or were you enlisted into the Navy?
Enlisted.
Enlisted?
At that time, everything except the Army was enlistment.
Oh, okay. So the Army was drafted at that
Yeah.
time. Oh.
I mean, you could enlist in the Army, but when you got drafted, you went in the Army.
Okay, makes sense. Cool, cool. So why did you decide to join the Navy then?
Well, I was out of high school and decided that it was time to do something like that. You know, I had a next door neighbor friend who had been in the Navy, and of course he promoted the Navy a lot, so.
Okay, so that's why you chose to go with the Navy as
Yeah.
opposed to Army or... Alright. So how old were you when you enlisted?
18.
18 years old. Wow. Do you recall your first days of service and what that might have been like when you first got there?
Yeah, it was mass confusion, really.
Mass confusion?
Yeah. Well, you know, everything is so new to you.
Mhm.
And I had decided earlier in the year that I was going to go in the service. Being cheap, you know, I said, just let my hair grow. So I had probably 3-4 months of hair, and when I got into there, it was zip. And then, of course, when you go into your physicals, you know, you're stripped down to your birthday suit, and you got about 100 guys in this room all naked and jaybirds, you know.
It gets real weird real fast.
Which was a different experience.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure it was. What else we got here? What were your boot camp training experiences like?
Well, basically I mean, we had a number of classrooms we had to attend and take tests, which the result of the, excuse me, the result of these tests determined where you were going to be placed in the Navy, what you were going to be offered. And other than that, a lot of drill, marching and stuff like that. And I can remember one time we had been out drilling, and the commander decided to take a break, so we're laying in the shade underneath the palm trees, you know, and stuff, and looking across a stretch of water where the Marine base was. Here these Marines over there in the sand digging holes, taking their helmet, running down to the water, you know, trying to fill this. Apparently they had done something that
Something wrong?
yeah, that the commander or their sergeant or whoever it was didn't like. And can you imagine?
Trying to fill a hole of sand.
Yeah.
Usually doesn't work out too well.
One of those futile jobs, you know, you never get it done.
All right, so we got boot camp. So what got you through boot camp and through those few years that you served? Was there any particular saying or anything you kept in the back of your mind to keep you going?
Not really, you know, it was just get out there and do the job that had to be done. Sometimes it didn't make much sense, but nonetheless, you did it. And I remember that our bunks had to be, everybody's bunk had to be exactly the same. You could stand on the end of a row of bunks and look down there. All the blankets were lined up, all the pillows were lined up, all the blankets around the bedding is
Really?
exactly the same. You know.
Wow. That's impressive. What type of work did you perform while you were in the service?
Well, it was basically, well, I enlisted in June. The following April, I managed to get on board the ship I was assigned to after school and stuff. So basically it was just ship repair and maintenance, equipment and maintenance. and especially the firefighting equipment and stuff like that.
So what sort of things did they teach you in the service, or what did you learn from your time there?
I guess basically what I learned was do the best job you can possibly do in whatever assignment or work you're assigned to.
Makes sense.
Sometimes they weren't very pleasant jobs, but nonetheless,
You just did it to the very best of your ability.
yeah,
Switched ships, I should say. Then.
yeah. Well, after school in Treasure Island, I went to Yokohama, Japan, and then boarded a Japanese train, go from Yokohama, which is the southern end of Tokyo Bay, to Sasebo, which is way out in the southwest corner of Japan.
Okay.
And that was a 3-day, 2-night train ride.
Oh wow.
A long ways. Of course, the trains weren't bullet trains like they got today. They were the old, stuff they had during World War II and before.
That kind of thing. Okay. And did you serve during a war? If I recall correctly, the answer is yes.
Yes, it was the Korean War.
Korean War.
Or police action, as it's called.
Okay. Did you see any combat in your time?
Yeah, we shot at a few, and they shot back on occasion.
Tends to be that way.
And we did a limited amount of minesweeping. Our major activities were troop support.
Okay. So did you notice much, I guess, chaos in the war, or any sort of just not knowing quite where you were at times, being on board for long periods of time, of course?
Yeah, well, usually when we went out, we'd be gone roughly 30 days.
Okay.
And, I mean, you look out there and say, yeah, that's Korea. Where within the country of Korea were we? I don't know, most cases. I know one time we were several days at anchor, pulled up anchor, and went around this promontory. And there was Busan, Korea. Huge city. Didn't know it was there until we went around the corner.
Oh, wow. Interesting. At the time that you were enlisted, what did you believe was at stake with the war, and have your opinions changed since then?
Well, I think that the thrust of action was to contain the spread of communism, and I still maintain that.
Okay.
Although communism has changed its, perhaps what you want to call it, its looks or its persona, but it's still the same thing.
Gotcha. Okay. Did you write to home often, and what did you write about in those letters that you did send home?
I wasn't a great writer, but then nobody else was either. But nobody, I mean, in my family, For instance, my sister was married 6 weeks before I ever knew she was married.
Oh, really?
Great communication, But, what did we write about? Just basically trivia, and not page after page after page of writing. It was
just a basic, this is what's happening and where I am. All right. What do you think that the people of today should know about the war and what happened over there, and what do they need to remember, I guess, about that?
I think that Korea is what's called the forgotten war. There were 50-some thousand men got killed over there, that is Americans. And I think that these people need to be remembered.
I would have to agree with that. I didn't know that the number was so high.
And I don't hold my feet to the fire on that number, but I believe it was somewhere around 50,000. Might have even been more.
Um, what were some of your most memorable experiences over there? Whether it was on the ship or in Korea or in Japan.
Well, we went on one little onshore party in Korea, mainly for a little recreation, softball, you know. And at that time, Korea was couldn't even classify as a third-class nation. It was so run down and poor. But we were in this one village. Don't ask me what the name of it is. Even if I knew, I couldn't pronounce it. But the houses were thatched and water with, you know, we got sticks and mud covered in thatched roofs, and there was no streets as such. It was just basically paths or wide paths and sewers running down those edges of them. And they were pretty bad shape. I don't believe you'd find anything like that in Korea today. You might in North Korea, but not in South Korea.
So how did you get promoted in Navy?
Well, you had to serve time in what you were being rated as. Then you had to take the examination, which was, you know, like 4 or 5 hour written examination.
Oh, wow.
And I passed. I was the equivalent of what they call a seaman, a fireman. You know, you have the 3 little white seamen have the little white stripes on the arm here, like this. The fireman or engineering department was red.
Okay.
But anyway, why? I took my 3rd class exam and I passed it, but there was a quota limitation, so I didn't get rated. And then the 2nd time I took it, I got rated right away.
Okay.
And then in 1954, I took the exam for 2nd class, and I made that. I was also qualified for the 1st class, which is the chevron with 3 stripes. It was 1st class. Chevron with 2 stripes was 2nd class. And had I have stayed in, I would have been within a few months been in 1st class. For a couple of reasons. One, I was completely and totally qualified for it. And 2, the position I was filling on board ship required a 1st class. And I was the only one that was eligible for it, so I know I would have made it.
So that being said, what was the highest rank per se that you achieved?
2nd class petty officer.
2nd class petty officer. That would be the.
And I don't know
title.
how that relates to, you know, we got a lot of Army people in here and stuff, and I don't know how that all relates
Translates
to
over.
one another. You know, we're talking something 65 years ago, and I don't remember.
Did you use anything other than letters to stay in touch with your family?
That was it.
Just letters. Seems like a bit of a lost art anymore.
Yeah.
Writing
And
letters.
then, of course, that was many decades before, you know, the cell phones and instant world communication, and email and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Ooh, this should be a fun one. What was the food like?
For the most part, the food was pretty good.
Really?
And I thought there was one thing that was really interesting is the kitchen, cooks, etc., all that staff would have a weekly inspection by some officer. And to prepare their kitchen, they did that on Wednesday afternoon and Thursday. But Wednesday, because they had to strip everything down and get it clean, breakfast was beans and wieners.
Really? Huh.
I don't know whether it's still true or not, but that was a historic tradition in the Navy. Wednesday morning breakfast is beans and wieners.
Huh. That's
Well, they could
interesting.
make all that stuff the night before, you see. Throw it out there, there you are.
Huh. Never thought about that. Did you get to try any sort of Korean food or anything during that time?
Well, I didn't try Korean. I did Japanese food.
Oh, okay.
You know, I remember one of the experiences I had with Japanese food. What the devil was it called? Right now, I can't remember what it was called, but anyway, it was a dish of noodles with a soft-boiled egg in the middle. There you are.
Well, it's a little interesting, one might say.
Yeah.
Where are we at? Did you feel any pressure or stress during your time?
Not a great deal. Not a great deal.
Not a great
I've never been one to succumb to stress and stuff like that.
Okay.
Or worry.
Mm-hmm.
Worry, is a waste of effort and time.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Was there any sort of good luck thing that you ever did as a tradition or something like that? Okay. How did people entertain themselves while you were on ship for 30 days at a time?
Well, gambling was a big deal.
Gambling?
Yeah. I mean, you could almost always find a crap or poker game somewhere on board if you were so inclined.
What did you guys use to bet when you gambled with cards and such?
Well, everybody had some money.
Okay.
But, watches, rings, whatever.
Just anything?
I know I got a real good watch from one of the guys. He was on a bet on the ponies. I think we were in the States at the time. And anyway, I got a great watch from him. Well, he exchanged a watch for some money, so I had that watch for probably 10 years.
Oh, wow. What did you do when you went on leave?
I came home and hung out.
You know,
Nothing spectacular.
just came home, saw your family.
Yeah.
Did you go anywhere in particular aside from home on leave then?
Not really.
Just-
No. Remember one time it was almost 2 years between leaves, and then I came home.
Oh, wow.
And it's amazing. I was living in Portland at the time, and it was amazing the changes that I could see in Portland over that
2 years, man.
2 years span.
Wow. Did you have any interesting or funny moments, per se, that you recall?
Oh yeah, I had a few.
Oh, really? Care to share one or two of those, maybe?
Well, when I first went on board the Doyle, being a newbie and having no status, and I was standing watches in the after engine room, and it was my responsibility to wake up the relief. That was like 5 guys. And my relief wouldn't get up.
Oh.
He might come down 20 minutes later after his shift started. And I decided to break him of that habit. So I had to go up out of the engine room, go through the men's head, which is the toilet facilities and shower room. I got a big wad of toilet paper and went down to the first compartment, had a water cooler, so I soaked that up with some cold water and went over to his bunk. He was laying on his back. So I hold that right over his head, and when he goes, I squeeze, the water goes into his nose. Man, he's out of that bed like a shot. But I never had to call him twice after that.
Probably wouldn't have to call me twice either.
And another one, I had my general quarters because we were off Korea. And I don't remember what the occasion was, but anyway, it was take cover. I mean, the announcement was take cover. Well, I was in charge of a damage control party. I mean, I had a kid, I don't know who was, basically pretty much of a useless type, but anyway, he was there and on it. When it cleared, I'm looking for this kid. I'm standing there looking down the deck and I see the lid of the garbage can lifting up and he jumped in the garbage can. But enlisted men weren't the only ones that did stupid things. We had officers that do some stupid things too.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, just because you got braid on your shoulder doesn't mean that you're clever or smart necessarily.
That's true.
We had, we were coming into Long Beach one time. We were tying up on what was then called Pipeline Pier. And there was another ship that was up against the pier, and we were going to tie up against that ship. Well, there was a crane track, the length of this, with a huge crane with a balloon sticking out there. And I was in charge of a line, Special Sea Detail Party, is what it was called. And anyway, why the crane's got this gangplank suspended on it, you know. So he brings it down, I stop him. I had a tape measure, which I always carried on me, and I measured the tape, or measured the width of the gangplank, and we had what we call two stanchions there. And I measured, which is where it was to go, and I measured between that, and it was too wide. So I told the crew, let's take the lifelines down and put it over here. And this officer comes up and he says, what are you doing? I says, well, taking these down so we can put it. He says, put it in here. I says, it's too wide. Now this gangplank is hanging off to the side about 5 feet, and he goes up to it like this. Sideways, it'll fit. Okay, it'll fit. Put it there. And the crane operators seeing this fool do this, you know. So he just brings it over, boom, and it's sitting in there like this, you know. I'll put it over here, which was where I was going to put it, you know.
Oh, wow.
So like I said, you know, people do dumb things, and it doesn't matter who you are, what you are, you know. Mm-hmm. And believe me, I did my share.
Do you have any pictures from your time in the service?
Oh yeah, I got a lot of pictures.
Lots of pictures.
And there's some of them in here.
Oh, really?
Have I ever lied to you before?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
And then, were there any particular people in those pictures?
I'm sorry?
Were there any particular people in those pictures?
Oh yeah, you know, the gang that I was involved with and people that I were involved with in the engineering department.
Okay. Did you make any close friendships in the service?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah. A guy by the name of Richard Bird. I got out in 95, or 55. He got out in the fall of 54. And we visited back and forth for the next 50 years or more.
Oh, wow.
Fact is, both he and his wife died here. Well, Richard died in 2011 and Doris died about a year later, I guess.
Oh, wow. 50 years, that's intense. Do you have any of those friendships that are still living?
Not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of. I mean, they scatter all over the country, you know, so I have no idea.
Do you recall the day that your service ended and what that was like?
Well, it was just basically, you know, going through the paperwork and receiving your final pay and discharge papers and get out the gate.
Didn't make a big deal of it, just
No.
sign your paper and leave.
I think I was finally cleared sometime in the middle of the afternoon on that particular day.
Okay. So you mentioned that you were in Korea
Yeah.
times. What was Korea like, the environment, I suppose? That's good.
Well, fortunately, I never spent any time in Korea during the winter. But about the year before I went on board, they were over there and they had the crew out breaking ice, chipping the ice off the ship to keep it from tipping over, rolling over, because it was so cold and the spray from the ocean
Whoa.
froze on the ship and they had to go and break that off.
Oh, wow.
But like I said, fortunately, there were some days when it was really bitterly cold, but nothing like that.
So the ice just froze inside and it got too much weight, or it was
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
drained? Wow.
Well, water's pretty heavy, you know.
True, it is. It is. What did you do in the days and weeks following your leaving the service?
I had, I did several odd jobs, you know, temporary jobs. Worked for Union Pacific Railroad in their repair shop. And they had a derailment east of Portland, so they, quote, laid off a bunch of people to pay for it. Does that make sense?
Not really.
And I worked in a poultry processing plant, I worked in a service station.
Okay.
Well, a service station then is not a service station now. I mean, then you check the oil, the coolant in the radiator, you fill the windshield washer bottle, you check the air pressure, you check the oil level, etc. You know, clean the windshields,
Wow.
all that for pumping gas.
Seriously.
Now, somebody come in and said, need gas, you got all those other services at the same time. You know, unless he said, I can't do that, I gotta go. You know.
Okay.
It was a true service station then, now it's just a gas station.
Yeah, I never knew that that was a thing that people did.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Did you just start working when you got back, or did you continue schooling at
I
all?
got it. As soon as I could find a job, I went to work, you know.
And then, was your education supported by the GI Bill?
Yes,
Yes.
yeah. I ended up with somewhere in the neighborhood of, you know what, I don't remember the exact number of hours, but somewhere between 40 and 45 hours in Portland State College.
Okay. Did you take any college classes while you were in the service?
No.
Okay.
I took some correspondence courses, but it involved my reading and the job I was doing in the service.
Okay. Do you attend any reunions at all?
I never have.
Or,
Never been notified of one, as a matter of fact.
oh, wow. What did you do as a career after the war?
Well, like I said, I did a number of odd jobs, and I took the civil service exam from Alabama County as a deputy sheriff, and when I made that, why, that was pretty much it for the next 12 years.
Okay. Almost done here. Did your military experience influence your thinking about war or about the military in general?
Well, I think that a strong military is a good thing. However, my opinion of war is that I think that the leaders of the country are the ones that should go to war, and they should fight it out rather than send a bunch of guys in that many times don't even know why they're there. Now, I would like to see the presidents and the dictators and stuff get out on the battlefield and fight your own damn battles.
Never thought of it that way. Is there anything that you haven't mentioned, or just any sort of interesting information that you would like to mention before we conclude?
Well, in '53, I guess I was, the French were having a lot of trouble in what was then French Indochina, which is now Vietnam, in that area. And they were being literally kicked out of the country. And we made a dash down to the Philippines to potentially lend support to them. We ended up not having to. So we were in the Philippines for a while, and in the Middle Bay, there were still Japanese warships sitting in there. Of course, they were sitting on the bottom of the bay, and the mast was sticking out. And I understand the Japanese have come down and we salvage all that. But anyway, swimming in Manila Harbor was forbidden because of the decomposition of the Japanese troops polluted the bay. And so therefore you weren't supposed to go swimming in it. And I wouldn't go swimming in it anyway. And then we went into Hong Kong and relieved the USS Orca, a station ship, and we tied up to a buoy out in the harbor and sat there for 6 weeks. And that was a great place, man. You could get clothes made for nothing, it seemed like. And I got shoes and I had coats and other articles of clothing made, you know. And we came back, we got orders to go back to Honolulu. And we were assigned as the USS Kane for the movie The Kane Mutiny, and the overseas action was filmed on board our ship.
Oh, really? That's pretty cool.
And you know, we had Humphrey Bogart. Can't think of his name right now. It's right at the tip of my tongue. We had Van Johnson and Lee Marvin. What's the other guy's name? I can't think of it anymore. But anyway, I think it's in here, actually. Anyway, why Humphrey Bogart was a real standoffish type. You couldn't get near him. And Van Johnson was just a nice guy. Nice guy. Homely. Nice. I mean, his face was just one complete batch of freckles. You wouldn't know that looking at him in the movies, but they put this pancake makeup on him.
Yeah.
Cover it all up. But Lee Marvin and his sidekick, whatever his name is, I can't think of it. Anyway, Lee Marvin. If you ever see the movie Cat Ballou, which Lee Marvin plays, he plays the drunk. He didn't have to act for that. That was Lee Marvin. But anyway, this guy, he'd come on board ship in the morning. We'd go out to sea. He'd work all day. We'd come in 4:30 or so. He'd go to the hotel, change clothes, go out and party until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Fall into bed, be up at time to go back out to sea, and do that day after day after day. That guy was one tough man.
Goodness, how do you survive that?
That beats me. I couldn't have done it. About the second day out of it, dead in my tracks.
Wow. Well, that concludes the list of questions, and it looks like we got some really cool information, so thank you for sharing your stories.
Sure. And you know, I probably just told you a few of what really took place, you know. But yeah, it was, I think that the military, I think everybody should be in the military at some point in their life. I have a niece who was basically, I wouldn't say dysfunctional, but she just didn't have her act together, you know. She went through high school, knocked around after high school, tried several different things. So she's now in her mid-20s and she decides to go in the Navy. She made a career out of the Navy. The best thing that girl did was go in the Navy. It just focused her life. And I guess she did 2 tours down in the Antarctic.
Oh, wow.
And she said in one case, they kept lifelines between buildings. Yeah. And the reason was that when you get a blizzard, you can't see, but you get on that lifeline,
You just follow the rope.
Yeah. She says that they had a guy freeze to death 3 feet from the door to the building he was going to.
Man, that's just sad.
I mean, you're that close